You know, a YouTube viewer with money is a little like the mule with a spinning wheel. No one knows how he got it, and danged if he knows how to use it.
Mule.
The name's Behaviour, model Behaviour, and I come before you good people tonight with a Patreon. Possibly the greatest... it's not really for you. It's more of a Shartimus Prime idea. Now, wait a minute. We're twice as smart as the viewers of Shartimus Prime. Just tell us about your Patreon, and we'll subscribe to it. Alright, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll show you my Patreon. I give you the Model Behaviour Patreon. I've sold Patreon subscriptions to Brockway, Ogdenville, North Haverbrook, and by gum, that put them on the map. I swear it's YouTube's only choice. Throw up your hands and raise your voice.
Model Behaviour! Model Behaviour! Model Behaviour! Model Behaviour!
Model down! The Model Behaviour Patreon. Seriously, if you don't subscribe, I'm going to keep singing. I'm not kidding.
There's a new street fighter on your windowsill. The weapon is peace, the word is...
Hello there, gang, and welcome to another episode of Displaying Model Behaviour, the Earth's mightiest action figure video podcast. So take off your pants, crack a beer, and let's talk toys. Let's talk Loot Crate. It has been a busy few days. Action figures are like buses. You wait for ages for one to show up, and then a whole bunch of them do. And two of them are from my first ever channel sponsor. I'm really hyped about this. Strange World Collectibles. Check them out at strangeworldcollectibles.co.uk. They messaged me, they said, Dave, we like what you do. Would you consider giving us a plug? We'll sponsor you. We'll send you a couple of figures. You can review them and give us a shout out. And I was like, well, I only want to shout out people who display model behavior. So let's see how this goes. I checked out their website. Boom, super professional, super easy to use. Really impressed with that. And then they said, okay, great. We'll send you a couple of figures. And the next posting day, biggity bam. Here they are. So strangeworldcollectibles.co.uk. These guys don't mess around. I'm going to start using them as my go-to suppliers because so far we got 100% record. We made an agreement. They stuck them in the post. Wham bam, here they are. Perfect delivery. Very impressed with these guys. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm not good with like corporate sponsorships. I think I kind of did that right. I like the fact that I'm promoting a supplier and not the actual figure manufacturers, because that's great, because I can say that these are rubbish if I want, so I can still maintain my creative integrity. Creative integrity? Come on, Dave, who are you kidding? But this is awesome. So I've got these McFarlane figures here. I also have NECA and I have Marvel Legends. It's been a busy couple of days. So first of all, I'm going to show you the ones that I opened already from Comic-Con. First of all, we have Ming the Merciless. I wasn't planning to get Ming. I had no intentions of buying Defenders of the Earth, any of those Flash Gordon figures. I know Flash Gordon from the original 80s movie with the Queen soundtrack, which I love. Flash! Ah! Savior of the universe! That's just incredible. I was raised on Queen. But this guy, I saw him in the package and I was like, he's really pretty. I mean, just look at this. Look at all the color. The color, the paint, the sculpting. He just leapt out at me. Not literally. That would have been terrifying. Like one of those little marshmallow men from the new Ghostbusters film, which also is good fun. A little bit slow to get started, though. It's about an hour before they bust a ghost. But then it's still a great film. But I digress. Ming is terrific. I don't need any more Defenders. I don't need Phantom or anything like that. Just as a standalone character for my cosmic display, this is perfect. But you look at the paintwork and the sculpting details and you're like, Marvel Legends, you'll really need to up your game. And there's one thing I really appreciate is that, in fairness, I imagine the license to make figures for Flash Gordon is a lot cheaper than it is to make Marvel characters. So that's probably where a lot of the budget goes. But because NECA saves money on probably not having to pay a fortune to get the license to make these, it means that they can pour all of that care, attention, and finances into making a stunning looking figure. I've done a separate full review of this to really go over the minutiae and the minor details, but I'm just going to say, genuinely, I'm blown away. This is the same price point as Marvel Legends, and you just see what is going on here. First of all, I didn't even realize when I bought him, cloth cape. An actual soft goods cape with bendy wire. You can actually move and manipulate this however you want it. You can have it flowing behind him, rippling however you want. That's big. That is a big, big markup in quality. When I reached my hand into the box and I was like, do I feel cloth cape? That was like, okay, all right, I'm won over. And now the rest of him with the bright, shining gold and all the details on here, it's all sculpted. It's not just painted on, it's actual real indentation. This is like you can touch and feel, and like this is just feels like it's worth more. Even the crest around the back of his head, it's all ridged and it's got a texture to it. So good. Now the worry with NECA is that whatever material they make their figures out of, I'll be the first to say, Hasbro, way more hard-wearing. Their plastic, it doesn't feel fragile. NECA always feels a little bit fragile. This feels like the same material that the animated turtles are made out of, and that worries me a little bit. So I really held my breath when I was testing all the joints, because I was like, are they going to bend or are they going to snap? And they do bend. They actually do bend and articulate, but I was worried because they always feel a bit, ooh, you don't want to do this if they're too cold or anything. But Ming, he's been fine. Double jointed elbows, they bend perfectly, and then also he's got so many accessories as well. He's got this wonderful big bonkers looking dragon head staff, but then he's also got a sword, he's got an extra hand, he's got a blaster with actual laser blasting effects. So cool, absolutely. Man, I absolutely love this guy. Look at the details on the face as well. He's got wrinkles and crow's feet. He's got bags under the eyes. He looks like this mean, ancient alien emperor. Fantastic. I started out strong with this. Love this guy. Now let's mix things up. Let's go over to our first Strange World Collectibles action figure. This is the armored Batman Dark Knight Returns figure. And so far, initial glances, it looks like your typical standard McFarlane kind of figure. Let's take a closer look. So here is our Strange World Collectibles Dark Knight Returns Armored Batman figure. And it looks like he does exactly what he needs to. We've got a perfect representation of the Frank Miller Dark Knight figure here, especially with the expression on his face, just that glum Judge Dredd style jaw there, and I love the actual texture on the armor as well. He's got some lovely dings and dents. It feels like it's well worn, like Bruce has actually hammered this out in his Batcave. Now the actual cape, I like this. It's not soft goods, but also you wouldn't imagine it would, if it was soft goods, it wouldn't seem right, because this is such a heavy-duty, apocalyptic armor kind of suit. Having it as this kind of soft rubber, it actually seems to fit much better, because you would imagine that this would probably be, he's fighting Superman in this armor. So this would be like a kind of a Kevlar, lead-lined, super heavy-duty chainmail kind of cape. And if you look at it, it does have wonderful texture on there. Like, it is made out of something way more hard-wearing than just normal fabric. It has that kind of Kevlar kind of feel. I really, really dig that. And the head sculpt itself, I don't really know what to say about the design, because it's the Frank Miller design. They've just captured it perfectly. They've taken it from the comic books and gone, yeah, we can do that. And they have. So let's just look at some of the more basic stuff. The elbows are just single joint. So that's a little thing. You're not going to get some super dynamic poses. Like, he can only bend the arm this far. I don't want to linger too much on articulation, because it's like, that's the bit I always skip in reviews. But still, at least the legs themselves are double jointed. And more to the point, after handling Ming, it's so nice to be able to just go, whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm not worried about breaking this toy. It's just liberating to be able to do that. And looking at this now, look at the boots. Look at the spikes and the tread on those. That is really fun. I love that detail. And it totally reminds me of the various comic panels, like where he's kicking Clark in the face and it just looks painful and you can see these spikes on the boots. So that's a great touch. And then of course he has the articulated toes as well, which I never know if it's really necessary. Maybe some like super hardcore high-end action figure photographers, they might really appreciate the toe articulation to get some very specific poses. So I'm not going to knock that. And also, it doesn't really matter if you don't want to articulate the toes. You don't have to. It's fine. They've just got the hinge there if you want it. So it's nice to have that option. Now, of course, his legs, he doesn't have a thigh swivel, but they swivel kind of at the hip a bit there. And then, of course, his calves swivel around. Ooh, and what's nice is the cuffs of the ankles are a soft rubber, so you can actually move the boot around quite a lot to give you a nice kind of range of motion, I suppose. But also you've got the under suit, whatever he's wearing, like his grey wetsuit. So it provides a nice kind of contrast of the gunmetal armor and then the lighter kind of grey colour. So that's kind of nice. And then his head, he only has one head, so you've just got the glum expression, but it's pretty much all you really need for this type of Batman. The only other things we have here are a couple of hands, and they're not that dissimilar. This is kind of a gripping hand, but there's nothing to grip, I don't think. Let me just double check in the old box here. No, there's no kryptonite spear or anything like that. No, I'm not missing anything. So he's got a gripping hand with nothing to grip, so I'm going to pop this hand off. Also, that was so nice. It was just no straining, no worrying about whether or not I'm going to bend the plastic or anything. That was good. That was good. And this just pops right on here. Oh, no, that's a left hand. Actually, that's a left hand. That's a right hand. There we go. This one is more just an open hand kind of thing, which is probably slightly more appropriate if he's not going to be holding something. Although having said how easy things pop on and off, this one, not so easy. Let me just try and fuddle and muddle around here with this. Ooh, McFarlane. I'm not happy. Dave's not happy because I'm pushing this hand on here, and at least I have actually got the right hand for the right arm. But like I'm pushing this as hard and as far as it'll go. It's just there's no it's not clicking. It's just like spinning around on the peg, but it's not sticking on there. So that's frustrating. And let me try and put his original hand back on. Maybe this is why this originally popped off so easily, was because it's not on there tight. Okay, yeah, the original hand is okay, but still it's not a very strong connection there. So there you go. You can see this wasn't planned at all then, because when I first pulled this off, I was like, oh, that was easy. It's almost like foreshadowing. I wonder if that'll play into things later. Yeah, it does. This is a very weak sort of connection here. So this is the hand that I really want, but it doesn't. There's no nice pop. You know, normally when you pop heads and hands on, there's a little. This is just pushing in, but it's not clicking. So it's not good. It's not good. I would like more. So, it's lucky, like I said, I'm being sponsored by Strange World Collectibles, the store, as opposed to McFarlane DC. So that way I can rag on the figure, but still recommend the store. I'm like, yeah, go to the store, just buy something else. I'm not saying you shouldn't buy this figure if you enjoy the Dark Knight, if you enjoy the McFarlane multiverse figures. This seems like a perfectly worthy addition, but maybe this is just, you know, a little QC issue for this particular figure. But I was kind of hurting my finger there because I was pushing against these little spikes when I was trying to get it on. But yeah, it seems like no matter how hard I press the hand onto the wrist, it's just like, he'll pose fine, but there's not a huge amount keeping it on there. So that's just something to be aware of. I probably shouldn't linger on it too much because it's not the end of the world, but it is just a little bit of, it's a thing that I'm aware of, basically. But the rest of this seems pretty good. I like the fact that his shoulder pads, actually, they are softer. So you can move his arms up and down, and that's surprisingly good articulation, considering he's got the neck piece and the shoulder pads and the cape here. The fact that you can move his arms quite high up is a surprising amount of articulation. So kudos McFarlane for that. But yeah, on the whole, he's fine. Again, I'm not a big DC guy, so I don't have a huge amount of nostalgia for The Dark Knight, but I can appreciate it. Also, the head articulation here, that's nice. You get a lot of range of motion on there. So you can have him sort of staring up at his bat symbol or looking up at Clark Kent in the sky, wondering if he bleeds. But it's good. He's good, big, chunky, hefty. So I'm a little bit cautious about the hands, but at the same time, once you sort of put it on there, you know, if you pull it, it'll come off super easy, but it will sit there without too much trouble. Just something to be aware of. But on the whole, if you're a Batman fan, if you're a Dark Knight fan, yeah, I think this guy's pretty cool. Next up, we've got our second Comic-Con purchase. Again, a completely random figure I was never planning to get, but I saw and he leapt out at me, and it is the Tengu Warrior. That's my, what's his name? Ivan Ooze voice. These guys, they're just, I like animal hybrid kind of creatures. It looked very Mythic Legions to me. It looked like the early Mythic Legions figures. So I thought, well, I am dabbling in the Mythic Legions a bit. And what really caught my eye was the beautiful shimmering paint on the black feathers. It was like an oil slick when the sunlight catches it. It just has this wonderful kind of shimmer kind of pattern. Really appreciated that. I could just see him in the box, so I couldn't get a good feel for him, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to give it a go. And I'm not sure, to be honest. Not sure. There's something about the Hasbro Power Rangers Lightning figures that feels a bit plasticky. And I know I always say that about figures. And you can always say, well, they're made of plastic, Dave. What do you expect? But some feel more plasticky than others. And for whatever reason, the Power Rangers figures, they always look a little more plasticky than the other plastic figures. Don't know if that makes any sense. If you agree, comment below and let me know. If you think I'm talking nonsense, then you'll probably comment below and let me know. But what I will say about the Tengu Warrior, also just a fun name to say, it's a perfect representation of the character from the movie and from the TV show when they later appear. I think that what kind of gets me a little bit is the grey around the face. It looks like it could maybe use a little bit more shading or some more details on there. It just, for whatever reason, my eyes see it and it looks like it has just popped out of a mold. It looks like it's from a plastic mold and not like someone's been crafting away at it with a paintbrush. Just like with the NECA Ming here, his face looks like an artist has sat there with a teeny tiny paintbrush and put in all these little details. It just, I don't know, maybe they have. I don't know how these figures are made. But this guy, he just feels a little bit more mass produced. And when they're selling for a similar price point, I'll point out that one feels like it's worth more. Now, this guy does have a few nice accessories as well. He's got a little egg that he comes with. He's got different hands as well. He's got fisted hands. But really, I mean, I wouldn't want a punch-throwing bird. I want a clawing bird. So this actually works much, much better. And then the wings pop on and off like the vulture, like the Hasbro Legends vulture. So that's quite nice. And he comes with shorter wings as well. So if you want to army build these guys, and really it makes sense if you've got a Power Rangers display, of course you're going to want to army build them. If you're going to have 6 Power Rangers against 1 Tengu Warrior, that's just a mugging. That's not really fair. So if you want to buy a whole bunch, then you can use the longer and shorter feathers to mix up the look of the characters. So that works really well. Now, on the feet, again, the feet kind of have it with regards to why I feel he looks a bit cheaper. It's all just one color. It's all just straight one made in a mold with grey plastic. They popped it out and stuck it on there. His toenails. The toenails are always a giveaway. If the toenails had been painted a different colour, it would have really brought more life to the figure. It's funny what my eyes hone in on. But my eyes honed in on these toenails here and I was like, nah, you could have done more. You should have done more. Maybe you would have done more, but you didn't. So I feel like they're kind of missing a trick there where just adding a little bit of black on the toenails would have really brought out more features, because also there's lots of ripples on the foot, and I'm trying to see in the light, like, is there some shading? I don't think so. Or if there is, it needed to be a little bit more, because there's some shading on the face around the eyes. That's quite nice, and the beak is very pretty, where it's got the purple at the front going back to this shimmering kind of gold. That's a nice touch. And also, I didn't realize until someone on my live stream pointed out, the beak is articulated as well, so you can open and close the beak. really nicely. So that's great. That's a nice little extra there. So there are good parts about this figure. If I was a Power Rangers fan and a big time Power Rangers collector, I think this is a very worthy addition to the lineup, I suppose. I was getting him because I wanted to put him with my sort of Mortal Kombat style monsters. I thought he'd go well with Gorilla Grodd and those kind of characters, and I think he does. But at the same time, I don't love him, so I might not keep him. Although having said that, also, he's got some nice dry brushing on the gold of his armor there, so that's a nice touch. So the more I talk about him, the more I'm like, yeah, you know what, you're alright. You got a few shortfallings, a few shortcomings, but at the same time, the fact that he's got this very fun, expressive, birdy kind of face, the shimmering paint on the feathers, that's really lovely. And yeah, the more I hold him up to the light, I can see the gold reflecting on the armor, and the armor is also very kind of battle-worn as well. It's got this nice texture to it, so you know what? He is winning me over a bit more. So on the whole, he's probably one of the weaker figures that I've got this last couple of days, but at the same time, yeah, he's slowly finding a little nest in my heart, I think. I think I kind of like this guy. Let's go back over to the second edition from Strange World Collectibles. It is King Shazam. So a Jokerized Shazam. Jokerizing characters is for DC, I think, what Venomizing characters is for Marvel. It's like, oh wait, we can just double the number of figures we can make by just Venomizing or Jokerizing everyone. So this is clearly Shazam who's been Joker toxined, I guess. I haven't read this story. I know the character of Shazam. I watched half the film. It wasn't bad. I just couldn't be bothered to watch the rest of it. But I assume that's the case. So Shazam, who's been Jokified, let's get him out. So here is King Shazam out of the packaging, and instantly there are some really good points and a few others that I'm going to take a little bit of convincing to get my head around. The thing that really stood out to me, which I didn't like at first, is just the skin tone. I know he's meant to be pale and Jokified, but I just feel like it looks like just paint that's been slapdash applied. It doesn't look good, and it's so hard to put my finger on it, but I think maybe because he's been Jokified, his skin is all one flat colour, and it just doesn't look like there's any shading or anything. And I feel like on the face, it needs that a bit. He's got obviously the black under the eyes, but it just, again, it looks like it's just been pandered on there. He looks like a bit of a panda bear. That's my problem with him, I think. But that's kind of a shame because the costume, I think, is very, very cool. Also, again, going with the slapdash kind of paint, the paint on his hands, it looks too thick. It looks like it's been slapped on there really, really thick, and you're losing some of the details on the fingers, and you can't really see the fingernails or anything. It looks like there's more detail on this mold, and then it's had this thick, white, pale, pasty kind of paint just slapped on there, and it feels like it's lost a lot of what is underneath, and that's kind of a shame because McFarlane are good with their sculpting, and I feel like this paint job is kind of not doing it justice, to be honest, or injustice. But the actual costume design, I dig this. I like that they've taken the classic Shazam look and then just thrown some more kind of gnarly, mean, scary looking stuff on there. So he's got these feathered kind of shoulder pads here. Is it a shoulder pad or a crest on the top of his robe? Whatever you want to call it. Whatever you want to call it. Call it a cool accessory. And then he's got the nice buckles that connect it all here. And one thing I really like, speaking of shading, is the gold here has some nice darker sort of, I don't know, like a wash to it maybe. This gold, it looks like actual metal, like it's been hammered out in a forge and this has been strapped to it. This is a big, big difference between, like I was saying, they're both made of plastic, but the grey plastic on this, it feels more plasticky, whereas the gold here, it feels kind of rubbery more than plastic actually. Yeah, it's a kind of a soft rubber. But my goodness, to look at it to the eye, it looks so much more effective, I feel. And then you've got the nice texture on his costume. So again, it's that ridged Kevlar kind of look to it. The arm gauntlets are nice. But again, he's got these little spiked knuckle dusters on his hands, and it just looks like they just daubed little bits of paint on there. And it's, I don't know, that doesn't quite look nice, and that's as technical as I can get sometimes. It just doesn't look that nice. But what does look nice is his modesty tunic bit at the front here. Again, though, it could have had some different colors. It just looks like a single piece that's been kind of slapped on there. But the sculpting of it, with the different tears and rips, the way it flows, I really like that. So that's actually very, very pretty. What I don't like are the old McFarlane ball joint ankles. That's kind of a shame. I'm not too keen on these. They just look ugly. How are we still doing ball joints, McFarlane? Why is this the case? You know, ball joints went out with early Toy Biz. Look at these weak little matchstick ankles here. I mean, you know, if Shazam picked a fight with me, I'd just kick him in the ankle and he'd fall over. I'd be like, well, you might have the power of, I don't know, gods, Olympus, something. I don't know. But still, these puny ankles are just kind of embarrassing. So that's kind of a shame. His cape looks nice. Let's try swapping his hands, because, again, he's got a gripping hand that grips nothing. So we'll see if the hands are the same as Batman or if these actually clip on nicer. Here we go. Again, I'm not feeling too confident about this, and the ball joints just they just look weak, and so I'm pushing this on here, but it looks like there's a bit of air between where the fist should go and where it meets the wrist. It's just, you got this big old ball joint that still is kind of visible. I'm just not a fan of that. So yeah, that, and again, the fist also, it looks like it's a nicely sculpted fist that has then just been dipped in paint and it's lost some of its detail, but it looks better than the open hand. So there's some ups and downs with this figure. Again, I think if you're really into the story, then you'll appreciate this figure more. I'm going at it without any kind of connection to the story. I'm just appreciating how he looks. And actually, if you have him in a slightly kind of like flying leg up kind of pose, I actually like him more than I was expecting to, because I thought, well, I'm not a big fan of DC in general, not a big fan of Jokerized characters, but actually seeing this guy here, he does look kind of cool, although this elbow joint is pretty weak. So McFarlane, that's not great. That's not great, McFarlane. We would expect a little bit more from you. In fact, it looks as though the elbow, the arm is fine. There's no sort of defect there. It's just that the joint is just not that strong. So that's a bit of a shame for McFarlane. Again, that's something that I experience with Hasbro as well sometimes. It's just part and parcel of the action figure game. Again, you know, it's the price point that you meet. You've got to make compromises, and sometimes that's going to be the case. But on the whole, with the belt and all of the additions on here, he is a good looking action figure. Do I want to keep him in my collection? Maybe not, because the Jokerized characters, not gonna lie, little bit freaky. So I might keep him for a while because he does look nice. But if there's anyone who is a big time McFarlane DC collector, they need their King Shazam, then maybe hit me up. But in the meantime, he does look kind of cool. And the final figure we're going to do for today, it's a big one. We are going to do Binary. Been waiting a while for this one, but here she is. Let's get her out of the packaging. I really ordered her because we were all in the rush of Galactus, weren't we? We were all having our cosmic fix, and this was another cosmic character, so I thought, yeah, bring her on. Let's get her to be flying around the Eater of Worlds, and she has so many fire effects. I was like, yeah, that looks pretty. Let's see how pretty she is out of the box. So here is Binary out of the packaging. So Carol Danvers, this is who the character is. This is Captain Marvel, but she's been upgraded. I don't know the full story. I just know that that's the basic gist of it. So she looks initially very, very impressive. When you hold her up to the sun, you've got the wonderful fiery translucent hair. I'm a sucker for fire effects and stuff. So we have the swirly-whirly effects that come too, which, let's face it, we've had these swirly-whirly fire effects a bajillion times. But it's still nice to see them because they look really effective. I will say, in fairness, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. These work really well. They wrap around the arms, they make it look like the person's generating energy and power. I'm fine with that. Now then, the face sculpt, it looks very kind of neutral, which is kind of okay because I imagine this is a very godlike kind of figure, just like super powerful, kind of omnipotent, just rippling with energy, so that works really well for her. It's a basic female buck. This is the older one that doesn't have the double jointed elbows, I don't think. So you got some limitations there. It does feel like a bit of a bare bones figure in some regard, in as much as they have minimized new sculpting in a lot of places. So she's wearing this kind of white intergalactic bikini here, but it's not going to be a surprise to you that this is just painted on. You know, there's no extra sculpting anywhere on the body. You can see you got the little star details on here. They're all just painted. It's all just painted on, and that is a shame. And that's something that's starting to become a bit of an issue for me with Marvel Legends, is how much it is just the same Buck repainted with a different head. And that's pretty much what this is. I like it because she's big and bright. Well, she's not big, but she's bright and bold, and I like bright and bold. I like what pops off the shelf. This fiery hair is wonderful. This is really, really fun, so I like that a lot. It looks a little bit weird, though, that it's like the back of her... It feels like there should be more here. It's like the back of her head is literally missing, like it's almost hollow on the inside. I feel like there should be more hair flames rippling out the back. It looks a bit weird. In fairness, I'm not going to be looking at her from behind very often, so it's not that bad, but at the same time, it just seems a bit odd that it's like her head is a meteor, like it's just scorching through the sky, which kind of makes sense, but I just feel like we could have a few more flames coming out the back would really help the overall look of this. And then also, I love the flames on her legs and the flames at the top of the arms. They look really, really great, but again, it's just painted. If there was some sculpted ridge to them or something, and I know it's all about budget, and I completely appreciate that. So, you know, maybe it's just, you know, this is all that the budget could fit, and I understand. Well, I understand that I don't understand. That's the important thing. But I'm just saying how I would have blue sky made it nicer, you know? But still, the face is fine. The black eyebrows, I mean, it looks a little bit odd because all of her other hair is this bright, fiery sun, and then she's got these big black eyebrows on there. But I think that's quite fashionable these days, so can't really argue with that. So what do I know about fashion? But yeah, she feels like she's very, very basic. And that's kind of what you come to expect. As you can see, she's sporting this big ball of energy on her hand. That's fun. I dig that. And you got two of them as well. So you can have her double fisting balls of energy, which is kind of fun. I dig that. So with these added with the fire ripples, you kind of get your money in a flaming kind of way. And she has different hands as well. So you've got the fist hands and you've got the swirly-whirly, flibbly-dibbly kind of hands. So that's nice. I just feel that she could have been more, but at the same time, it's not like she's a major league A+, high tier S rank kind of character. So why would they invest a huge amount of money in her? I understand. This is one of those niche kind of characters, so I'm not too mad about it. Still also, huge big holes in the back, but at least she's not at a premium price. But then again, all prices are going up, so it feels like every price is a premium price, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I can look past that because the hair covers a fair bit of it. I'm going to have her probably on a flight stand, kind of flying in motion, so I can get away with that. But it is a shame that this is just painted on here. It would be lovely if there was actually a ridge to it, so it feels like she's wearing a costume. Because, like, you know, Shazam, boom, wearing a costume. Ming the Merciless, wearing a costume. She's wearing body paint, and it separates the men from the boys when it comes to quality of action figures. So I like her, but I don't love her. So guys, that is my loot crate for this week, and what a week it's been. That was busy. We had a lot of stuff, and we've got the Age of Apocalypse Wave 2 arriving as well, so oh my goodness, I'm going to have to try and clear out some more space somewhere. But let's rank these figures and decide who is the best of the bunch. So in 5th place, we have the Dark Knight Returns Armored Batman. Now this is a good figure. I love a lot of the details on him, but because he's a very plain grey kind of figure, he's not that exciting to look at. I love that he's big and chunky and hefty, but I don't have that much of a connection to the character. So he's going to be in the 5th place, but still a very decent figure. Then we have the Tengu Warrior. This one is going to grow on me over time, I think. I'm probably going to try and sell him at some point, and then when I'm taking pictures of him to sell, I'll be like, actually, you know what? Maybe I'll keep you, because I do quite like you. He's got a lot of character to him. He has elements that make him feel a bit cheaper, but at the same time, he's kind of quirky and fun and fits in with all the different mythic monsters, so he earns a good place on the list. And in third place we have Binary, and I think this might be a little bit generous for her, but at the same time she's a Marvel Legend, so that does give her a lot of extra credit for me. Marvel Legends will still be my go-to franchise, so I think that puts her up a bit higher. But there's so much reuse in this figure, and the costume is just painted on, it's a bit underwhelming. The fire effects are nice, and the flaming hair is kind of cool, but she doesn't bring a huge amount to the table as far as innovation is concerned. So she gets a nice little middle-of-the-road kind of place. In second place, we have Jokerized Shazam, or King Shazam, if you will. There are certain things that just bring this figure back a little bit, such as the weak-looking ankles and the weird flesh tone dolloped on paint. That's a shame, but it goes to show how good the costume and the sculpting is, that I can look past those drawbacks and actually just see how great the armor and the cloak and the robes look. They just make him look like a striking looking figure. So I'm not really tied or drawn to the character or the story or anything like that, but just as a cool looking costume, I really, really like this. So I'm going to give him second place. And in first place, a super easy first place position has to go to Ming the Merciless. I really love this guy. Got him for a bargain price, and with all the beautiful sculpting, the paintwork, the soft goods cape, everything that's gone into him, he looks fantastic. Really, really love this guy. Easy first place, and possibly a strong contender for Figure of the Year. Look forward to that list coming out soon when we get into December. It's going to be a tough race, but Ming has really, man, he's captured my heart. I really, really love that guy. And guys, that does it for Loot Crate for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and a huge thanks to Strange World Collectibles. Go and check them out, strangeworldcollectibles.co.uk. They also do this really fun thing as well, where they will send you a character card, and what you do is, once you collect all 6 of these, then you can kind of put them together and you can get a discount in the store. I think that's a really clever idea, kind of like a rewards card, but it's a fun trading kind of thing as well, and of course it encourages you to go back, which is like the whole point. So big points to Strange World Collectibles for innovation there. But in the meantime, guys, thanks very much for watching, and until next time, keep displaying model behavior.
Chill. Yeah.
Now let's mix things up a little bit. Let's actually go over to our first. Lucky they sent it to me in a secure box.
Cup of coffee.